Hey guys, King of Trimanders here. Today I bring you the Fulgur Anjanath Driftsmelt builds, the Vital Thunder meta, as we showcase the Driftsmelt builds for the new Fulgur Anjanath skill Vital Thunder. And here's a disclaimer, Driftsmelting takes a lot of time and resources. Make sure you are following a credible resource and someone that actually uses insta-smelts. Well, you don't have to use insta-smelts, but if you have multiple of them, you'll likely use insta-smelts, unless you walk a whole lot. Not saying that you don't have to, but yeah. Also, Driftsmelting is a nice to have. Unless you're tackling high endgame content, there's no reason for you to fear of missing out. You can get by just fine without it. Don't FOMO. If you don't have this, it's okay. You can blow through 8 and 9 stars without Driftsmelts. In fact, I blew through 10-star Silver till most of every 10-star except for Silver Atlas in the trials with literally only one burst Driftsmelt. So it's a nice to have, and you can make do without it. Don't worry about it. Alright, first we're going to start off with a melee Driftsmelt data damage comparison. So here we compare all the data from the best Fulgur Anjanath melee Driftsmelt builds, running all possible realistic combinations. As you see right here, Thunder Attack 5 is the best, which makes complete sense honestly, and is the most consistent, because if you look at all the madness, I literally read every Wex and Critical Eye combination you could think of. Even if you do put the crazy combinations out there, Elemental Attack 5 still wins. The second that's the most consistent, however, is the crit build, but the top one it's still 0.5% stronger for the top one. So you might as well go after that one because Thunder Attack, again, is the most consistent. When we start factoring crit, if you're not hitting weak spots, you miss once, all of this just goes to crap. And here's a note, I'm not factoring super conditional skills like Fighting Spirit or Latent Power. I see a lot of people doing that in their analysis on other content. That's not a true average. This is a true this is the true damage analysis. Because when you factor things like Fighting Power and Latent Power or everything with those conditional skills, obviously your stuff's going to be up. Without knowing that if those never proc to begin with, in other words, if you slay the monster within like 30-40 seconds before that procs, or you never proc Fighting Spirit in the beginning like you could do with using meat, etc., then again, that's just extra stuff. You want to look at the true average because most of the time this is what you're going to deal with for most of your hunts unless you're fighting endgame monster stuff. When you go to endgame monster stuff, you go super technical, but 90% of your hunts are going to be this. So again, go with the true averages, look at consistency and the true averages, and then factor all the extra stuff in as nice to have. Alright, and for the Vital Thunder Critical Element Driftsmelt build for the melee, we have at number 1, the highest one at 5,528 with 5 Thunder Attack Driftsmelts. Fighting Spirit here is a nice extra skill that adds more damage. And it's most consistent because you're stacking as much thunder value as possible without relying on hitting weak spots. Even if you don't hit weak spots, you happen to hit a neutral part of the monster's body, because you stack Thunder Attack and Vital Thunder, there you go. You will have that extra boost regardless of whether you're hitting it or not, and factoring that 25% extra damage from crit. To use this build, you need 5 Thunder Attack Driftsmelts, the Corinne Helmet at grade 8, Fulgur Anjanath Mail at grade 8, Fulgur Anjanath Vambraces at grade 8, the Pink Routing Coil at grade 8, and the Silver Rathalos Greaves at grade 8. Next up we have the bow, and here's the bow's Driftsmelt damage data comparison as we look at all the best Fulgur Anjanath bow Driftsmelt builds by running all the possible realistic combinations. And here's the thing, Critical Eye 4 and Wex 1 is the highest theoretical damage. That doesn't mean you can't go Thunder Attack 4. If you look at the thing over here, Thunder Attack 4 is only 3% less, but it's more consistent. Here's the problem with people that like just put random builds out there. If you look at the number and it's the highest, a lot of the times they'll tell you it's the best because it's the highest number without seeing where you get to that number. For example, if you put a crit build together, like Critical Boost and Latent Power, and put it in there, but you have low crit, that number is not going to be consistent. You're not going to... the damage calculator assumes that everything works out perfectly. So yes, it's an average, but this assumes everything's working out perfectly. It's not going to work out perfectly 100% of the time according to this. So people are going to mislead you by telling you, hey, this is the highest, but they can't even tell you and break it down why is it the highest. And is it consistent? So everyone doesn't look at consistency. So here's the thing. If you want to go Elemental Attack 4, that's fine. And honestly, it's going to be more consistent because the bow above there, you're banking on crit. So you bank on crit for that result. If you don't crit at least once, then everything that isn't accurate. So again, consistency plus damage equals amazing. Not just, oh, this is the highest number. So I'm going to put the crit build and the Thunder Attack 4 build. But again, if you want to go Thunder Attack route, that's honestly more consistent than it would be if you went the crit route. And this brings us to the first Driftsmelt build for the bow. We have Vital Thunder Critical Eye with the highest theoretical damage at 6,013. And you have 4 crit eye Driftsmelts, and this uses the Regen Coil, which gives you 80% crit when you're hitting weak spots and 60% without hitting weak spots. So the 70% is pretty much the standard from testing and using it myself against so many other monsters, Mr. B Sword and Shield, and using Critical Element. This is the high enough to be consistent. For this build, you need the Fulgur Anjanath Bow at grade 10 or as high as you can get it, the Azarathos Helmet at grade 8, Fulgur Anjanath Mail at grade 8, Fulgur Anjanath Fanbrace at grade 8, Regen Coil at grade 8, and the Silver Rathalos Greaves at grade 8, along with all 4 slots being Critical Eye. And next up, we have the more consistent build, the Vital Thunder Attack Driftsmelt build number 2. It's about 3% less than the top at 5,873, which isn't a lot, you'll hardly notice it. And it gives you 4 Thunder Attack Driftsmelts for this one, which also uses the Regen Coil. Now here's the thing, this one's more consistent as you don't rely as heavily on crit proccing to give you your damage bonuses. Because whenever you have a high crit, you hope that it procs. If it doesn't proc once, then guess what? It kind of doesn't go that way. But you don't have to worry about it too much with this one because, again, you're giving more thunder attack. So because of that, you're not relying heavily on crit proccing. For this build, it is 4 thunder attack Driftsmelts along with the usual Fulgur Anjanath Bow at grade 10 or as high as you can get it, Azarathos Helmet at grade 8, Fulgur Anjanath Mail at grade 8, Fulgur Anjanath Fanbraces at grade 8, the Regen Coil at grade 8, and the Silver Rathalos Greaves at grade 8. And last but not least, we have the Bowguns. And unfortunately for the Bowguns, the thing about it is, if you compare the data, they're both the exact same build. So by running all possible combinations, you just don't really have a choice but to go Thunder Attack right now because they're negative crit. They're extremely limited due to reload speed and recoil down requirements, but also, again, there's no Driftsmelt that gives you critical ferocity or raw power. You can't give it anything that increases negative crit. And of course, you're not going to give negative crit, positive crit. So and Thunder Attack just makes the most sense if you want to fulfill the conditions for a good build. Again, it's high damage plus consistency. Just because something's the biggest number, that doesn't mean it's the best because the consistency isn't as high. To get from A to B, you need C. And if you don't have A at high enough, you're not going to get to B and C. Alright, for Bowguns, here's the build. You have the Vital Thunder Corinne Flashstorm build at number 1. For both of them. With the highest theoretical damage, well, the only one at 4,560 because of limitations. And you have 5 Thunder Attack Driftsmelts. So this has Vital Thunder 3 and Corinne Flashstorm 1, and it has Reload Speed 3 and Recoil Down 3. Again, you just really don't have a choice. Even though the Heavy Bowgun requires only 1 level of Recoil Down, it's just, you just don't have flexibility, and there's no Driftsmelt's flexibility for negative crit as of right now. So the only thing that makes sense, stack Thunder Attack. For both the Light Bowgun and the Heavy Bowgun, you're going to need the Basil Juiced Helmet at grade 8, the Fulgur Anjanath Mail at grade 8, the Fulgur Anjanath Fanbraces at grade 8, the Kuro Puke Coil at grade 8, and the Corinne Greaves at grade 8 with all Thunder Attack Driftsmelts. Again, this is for both Bowguns, Light Bowgun and the Heavy Bowgun. Hopefully this video helps you decide what Driftsmelt build to use for your Fulgur Anjanath weapons. Remember, Driftsmelting is extremely time consuming and expensive, and do not invest in something unless there's a deep data dive that provides supporting evidence and someone really goes into it like I did. Remember, it's high damage plus consistency. Just because something has the highest number doesn't mean it's the best. There are conditions to meet everything. Or, yeah. But, there you go. And a lot of people that throw builds out to you actually haven't done hundreds of Driftsmelts themselves. They just like acting like they're smart. No, seriously, that's just the way it is. Make sure someone has credible resource and experience and tells you the real stuff because honestly, you don't even need Driftsmelts. You can get away with it just fine. Don't let the fear of missing out get to you. With that being said, please do me a huge favor. Like, subscribe, and comment for YouTube algorithm. Regardless, if you do decide to go after these, may the best of luck to you. Hopefully you do not reach 77 for one piece like I did with me back in Time Charger when I tried to go for 3 full Driftsmelt builds. I got 14 out of 15 out of using hundreds of Driftsmelts. Good luck on your grinds. Good luck on your Driftsmelts. Good luck on your journey to these builds. And I will see y'all on the next video.